Hey folks, what's happening? Let's get into chapter 5 here. This is a chapter about the police. We're going to look at their role and function within society. When we think of the police as an organization, we think of it as independent agencies within the executive branch of government. Most municipal police departments in the United States are independent agencies operating without specific administrative control from any higher governmental authority. Although they're often cooperating and participating in mutually beneficial enterprises, you might think of joint task forces between state and federal law enforcement agencies. Local police agencies are functionally independent organizations with unique sets of rules, policies, procedures, norms, budgets, and so on. So you have to keep that in mind, that these are independent agencies within an executive branch. They're organized hierarchically. They have clear chains of command. So there's a specific structure that depends on size. Most police organizations are organized, as I was saying, in a hierarchical fashion. There may be a big number of independent investigation units headed by a captain who serves as a senior administrator. Then you might have a lieutenant who oversees cases and investigations and acts as a liaison with other police agencies. Of course, you have sergeants and inspectors who carry out field work. So regardless of its size, at the head of the organization is the police chief. The police chief sets policy and has general administrative control over all the department's various operating and how those departments conduct themselves. The pros of the time and rank system for promotion, because this is an organization that promotes due to time in. It ensures organizational stability. It maintains fairness and prevents favoritism. And it protects agencies from losing valuable administrators to other departments. The cons of this type of organizational structure are that it restricts administrative flexibility, it prohibits rapid advancement, and results in administratively conservative police agencies. In the end, the system requires that an officer serve in a particular position for a defined period of time before being allowed to compete for promotion. A good example is when an officer must have served as an officer for 2 years before being allowed to compete for a promotion to sergeant. So time committed to the organization is important. The role of the police, police officers as depicted in books, this is fictional of course, mostly, books, television, and movies, is of course overly dramatized. There's very little excitement in a police officer's job, though sometimes they must perform rather harrowing or dangerous tasks. For the most part, the job is rather routine. About 1/3 of police officers are assigned to non-enforcement duties. The latest statistics indicate that about 17% of the people have at least one contact with the police each year. Most of those contacts that we have with police officers are traffic related. 30% are to report problems for assistance in dealing with a problem. When we look at the UCR reports, we see that about 760,000 local, county, and state officers make about 1 million arrests each year. The average police officer makes around 2 arrests each month and 1 felony arrest per year. Some officers, by virtue of their assigned duties, make considerably more arrests for serious crime. Others, such as those assigned to communications or administrative duties, make considerably fewer arrests. So as it is with averages, those making a lot of arrests are probably inflating the average when it comes to those doing more administrative work. And in rural areas, a police officer may work for years without making an arrest for a serious crime. Uniformed patrol officers account for 2/3 of a department's personnel and serve several purposes. They deter crime. They help maintain the public order. They offer a rapid response. They identify and apprehend violators of crimes, or violators of laws, sorry. They provide care to people who need it. They, of course, as we all see, facilitate movement of traffic, and they create a feeling of security in the community. You might not like police when you're being charged with a crime, but you certainly want them there to make you feel safe in your community. What do they do when they're on patrol? Mostly order maintenance and peacekeeping. And there's probably not a whole lot of that. You often find them handling the situations that are getting out of hand, and they administer selective enforcement. So they might not go after everybody for every infraction. Most people agree that the great bulk of what a patrol officer is related to is ordered, as I mentioned, maintenance and peacekeeping. And in the end, the effectiveness of the patrol function has been an active research subject for several decades. This is something that social scientists love to study. What is the enforcement aspect of our society? What are they doing? How are they doing it? How effective is it? Can we improve patrols? Of course. Police departments are looking always for more efficient and effective techniques for improving the patrol function, because it's where police interact with society on a regular basis. Proactive patrols is a policy that emphasizes stopping crimes before they occur rather than reacting to crimes that have already happened. Directed patrol, on the other hand, is a patrol strategy that involves concentrating police resources in areas where certain crimes are a significant problem. Both strategies are based on the concept of deterrence, and the evidence of deterrence and its effects of making arrests is mixed. Some experts say it reduces crime, while others say it has no effect. Certainly, an arrest will deter a single person from continuing that particular crime at that particular time and place. But will it deter them in the future? Of course, improving response times may be one way of increasing police efficiency. However, the research fails to support such an assumption. There's no consistent evidence that this is the case. Many crimes are reported well after they're committed, and rapid response to serious crimes in progress is another matter altogether. The public, of course, expects the police to get there as fast when a crime is in progress or when a person is being threatened. There's the broken windows policing, which is based on the broken windows model by Kelly and Wilson. This model is based on the following assumptions. Neighborhood disorder creates fear. Neighborhoods give out crime-promoting signals, and police need citizens' cooperations. Broken windows is an analogy that proposes that if a broken window in an abandoned building is not repaired promptly, then the other windows will be broken quickly thereafter. If you take that analogy to crime, if minor crimes in other neighborhoods, disorders are allowed to happen, then criminals are more apt to victimize that neighborhood in the future. Technology is also playing an increasing role. Things like the CompStat program, which originated in New York City, allows police administrators to see crime trends very quickly and make policy procedure decisions to address these emerging crime trends. Things like rapid collection, analysis and dissemination of crime data, regular meetings of police supervisors to address problems and share information, and police supervisors being held accountable for their inability to address problems quickly are driving this improving patrol function. Something to think about as we work through this material. What experiences, if any, have you or people you know had with patrol officers? How did you react? And then, how do you think patrol officers can be most effective carrying out their duties in their community? Think about that as you work through this material. Part of being a sociologist is being empathetic and being able to put yourself in the shoes of the other. Put yourself in the shoes of the officer. Another function is the investigative function of policing. Detectives do the investigating, and they are experienced civil servants who are trained to investigate, and they're knowledgeable about criminal procedure. Investigative services can be organized in a variety of ways. They can be organized by crime type, like burglary, robbery, crimes against persons, property crime. They could be done geographically, based on patrol beats or commands, or they can be a combination of both. So you might ask yourself, well, how do detectives detect? Well, primarily they rely on interviews and forensics evidence to flesh out a narrative of a crime. Now remember, this is not like you see on TV. It's probably a lot more mundane. They may enter a case after initial contact by patrol officers. So there's initial contact by patrol officers, some notes are taken, they're passed on to the detective, and then they investigate a case on their own. Or they go undercover. They usually have a three-pronged approach. First, they take a specific focus. They interview witnesses, they gather evidence, they record events, and they collect facts at the immediate crime scene. Next, they do a general coverage. This is a canvassing of the neighborhood where they conduct interviews with families, friends and associates, contact co-workers or employers for information, and construct victim-suspect timelines. And then finally, they work on the informative prong, and that is using modern technology to collect records or cell phones and pagers, computer hard drives, diaries, notes, and documents to be the final piece of the puzzle. There, of course, is no universal system for conducting an investigation. Detectives use a great deal of intuition and rely on their own experience to guide their efforts.